You're listening to the Regeneration Rising podcast, a podcast from the Quivira Coalition about the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of agrarians in the United States. Each episode will explore what it means to work in regenerative agriculture, how people came to choose this as their livelihood, and why it's important to them and the future. We hope to build a foundation for a strong community of future agrarians and land stewards with a regenerative approach to community, relationships, and the land.
Welcome back to another episode of Regeneration Rising. I'm Taylor Mulia, and it is such an exciting time of the year. I'm recording this on the night before leaving to Santa Fe, New Mexico for the Regenerate Conference. It feels like a family reunion, so I'm very excited to see not only all 20 of our graduating apprentices for 2023, but we're actually getting together quite a few alumni of the program. I'm actually visiting one on the way down. So just a really beautiful time of the year, and you realize how many relationships you build through Quivira. So very thankful for that. And the reason I'm mentioning graduation is because we are also in the process of opening applications for next year's apprenticeship. The New Agrarian Program applications open on November 1st. But don't worry, they don't close till December 15th. So we have tons of resources online to learn more about all the locations accepting apprentices for 2024. And we were doing, our staff here at the New Agrarian Program, we were doing a NAP 101 call, which is essentially an informational call about the program a couple weeks ago. And one of the gals that joined us asked if she could speak to an apprentice from this year. And it really just sparked in my mind. I mean, each apprentice is kind of going through a crazy life transition at the moment of applications. So we try not to bug them too much, but I thought maybe I could bug them just enough to come on to the podcast and share their experience. Because right now at this very moment, there's a lot of people out there thinking, maybe I might apply, wonder what it's like, would love to just hear about someone's experience. So we actually just chose two apprentices that were a great example of our program and what it can do. And so we brought them on today to participate in an interview. So my guests today are Ryan Koch. He is at the Barthelmist Ranch. And then we have Samuel Moreno, and he is at Coulter Family Ranch, both up in Montana. These two guys are graduating, tomorrow, a couple days from now. And so kind of reflecting on the season, and I really enjoyed our conversation. So if you're considering applying to the program, you're going to find this episode very helpful. Another thing you might find very helpful is we're doing a webinar called Tips and Tricks for Applying, and that is happening on November 9th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time. And we'll also have it recorded for folks that might miss it. And then we also have our very final NAP 101 call where we'll go through all of the mentor sites accepting apprentices. And that call is happening on November 14th, 12 to 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time. So you can find all the information and register for those two at quiviracoalition.org/events. So thanks for joining us today. Thank you so much to these two apprentices for being willing to be interviewed at a very crazy, stressful time. And I hope you enjoy. Well, Samuel and Ryan, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you. Yeah, it's awesome to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So first, we're going to start with our normal question. Where are you calling in from today?
Yes, I'm calling from Brusette, Eastern Montana. I've been here at the Coulter Family Ranch for the last 8 months. So I'm here today. We got like a really nice snowstorm. So kind of surviving from here. So
I've heard with a lot of the Montana folks. Ryan, do you want to say where you're from, what mentor site you're at?
Yeah, I'm 30 miles south of Malta, Montana, up on the High Line. And we also got a bunch of snow today, so that was fun to work in. and I'm at the Barthelmess family ranch up here. So
Awesome. I would love to go into a little bit more of each of your backgrounds. So it's interesting. Your accents differentiate you two quite a bit on this podcast, which is convenient. I would love to talk about sort of where you're from, really briefly, like what brought you to this apprenticeship. Ryan, if you want to start this one first, and then we'll pass it off to Samuel.
yeah, I'm originally from Nebraska. I grew up in Maryland. It basically how I got here is I was working a job I didn't like, and I started working in agriculture on a farm in Maryland. And next thing I knew, I was working at a butcher shop, and I wanted to come out west and see the other side of livestock work. So that's how I ended up out here from Maryland.
Awesome. And what about you, Samuel?
Well, I'm originally from Spain, and I came to the States in 2016. And yeah, I got different jobs back in Michigan. Actually, I'm married, so my wife is from Michigan, and I got a couple of different jobs there. And on my last job, it was hard to work. It was a factory job, and I was looking for something different. And also, I was pretty much since I came to this country, I developed some sort of health issues and problems with food, and I was having a lot of problems. So I started discovering that the more attention I paid to the food I was eating and how that food was being raised, the best I was feeling. So this took me to this journey of discovering like regenerative agriculture, and it was incredible, like the journey and seeing how I was improving. So I really want to be part of the regenerative movement. So yeah, I discovered new agrarian program in 2021, like 5 days before the application was ending. So I decided to rush my application, but yeah, that's how I ended up finding the program. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'd love to jump into it. Applications are opening soon, and there's a lot of folks who are curious about the application process. Samuel, if you want to continue, like how, you said you did find it and went through the process once, didn't make it, went through it again, and then was successful. You want to talk about sort of what you found successful with that process?
Yeah, I was looking for an opportunity like this, basic like an internship opportunity. I started looking for it in 2020. I remember I went to Missouri and visited Greg Judy. He has like an internship program, and that thing didn't work out. And then I tried Polyface Farm with Joel Salatin. It didn't work out either, so I kind of refused because I really want to try to be in a program like that. So I try to find it, and like I said, in at the end of 2021, I found the program actually through Atra website. They have like different applications and internship opportunities. So I found something about Quivira, and I said, "What is this thing? What is Quivira?" And then I rediscovered the new agrarian program. And like I said, I sent an email. It's like, "Hey, can I have any chance because the application is closing very very soon." So I tried to do the application quick, but it was not good enough for me. So I decided to wait for a year and try again next year. So yeah, in 2022, that was my full-time job, becoming a better applicant. So yeah, I was able to change my job, and I switched from a factory job to a construction job, and looking for different opportunities, volunteering, and yeah, when the application process opened in October of 2022, I was ready.
And when you were interviews, were those volunteering opportunities helpful? Like, did they make your application stronger, did you find?
Oh, it was huge. Yeah. Yeah, I remember the first time that I discovered the program, I was talking with my wife. What do you think? Do you think I have any chance? And she looked at my experiences and my application. Is like, I don't think any rancher wants you wants to have you. So I started working on that. And yeah, definitely. I visited a couple of farms. Yeah, it was huge just to have like real experiences to put in the application.
hmm And how else did you prepare for the interview process? Did you, practice with your wife? Did you kind of like ask for any help with that, or did you just kind of go into it? Yeah. Any tips?
No, well, the application is long. Okay, there are a lot of questions, but I think it's long in a good way because Quivira really wants to put apprentices and ranchers that like create like a good match. So that's why I think the process is the way it is. But yeah, actually, I reached out to the Quivira staff. I remember talking with Caroline Catwell just to I think I talked with you too, Taylor. So different webinars and video calls and trying to ask questions.
Yeah, I remember, Samuel, you did a really good job of like just coming to us, and you had you have a wife and a kid, and you were just like, I have no idea if this is even going to work. Is there any ranch that would take, the whole package? Because it's all or nothing. So, and we actually did find you a great match. And I think it was because you reached out early.
Well, that was one of my main questions. Like, okay, I'm from another country. I have an accent, and I'm not from here. I have a wife. I'm kind of older than the average applicant. I think so. Yeah, it was like I needed to ask questions and to know if it was viable to do so.
And Ryan, I want to jump to you. What was your application process like? Did you do anything in particular to prepare for applying to the program? Any tips on getting ready for your interview process?
Well, my whole application process was a little bit different than Samuel's 2022. It was more equivalent to his 2021. Um, prior to applying to this, I was working in politics, and we had just got it done winning an election in November, and I realized I didn't want to keep doing that. And I think I found the application on like November 28th. It filled it out. uh, and I heard back about 2 weeks later. So that's how I found it. Also, just looking online and coming up on it and trying to figure out what this regenerative ranching was and if it was something I was interested in after I had already applied and I realized it was. Um, and when I got the opportunity, I only had one ranch interview me, so I didn't feel too good about it because I did the wider thing where I put my top five choices and the other four denied me. Deservedly so. I didn't have any experience or anything. So I really just threw a shot at the wind, and then I had my interview. I was just completely honest about my career tract and what experience I did have. And me and Leo Barthelmess, who interviewed me, got along really well in the interview. I think I really explained why I wanted to come out to Montana and give a try at regenerative ranching. And I think that just the honesty and what I was trying to accomplish is how I got it. Um, I also know Leo's brother, Chris, who I work with. He said I got the job because I wrote in my application that I was excited to check heifers at night to do the night calving. So, you got to also be willing to put in the work and be ready to learn. That's how I found the success in it.
And Ryan, if you hadn't been in an interview with a rancher before, it strikes me that whenever we interview, I'm in on the interviews for the folks that are listening. I have to feel for a lot of these applicants because like most people in life never go through an interview with a rancher. It's just like a demographic of people we don't often talk to. And it can be really nerve wracking to go into it. Like, how am I supposed to look? How am I supposed to dress? Like, how am I supposed to talk? It just, I don't know. We're really clashing two worlds with this program. And so I can see how that would make people really nervous. Do you have any advice for that interview process, like to kind of calm your nerves a little bit and show your best self?
Yeah, I was definitely nervous because I hadn't had an interview where, the job would be very different from working in an office or something as I'd done prior. So I did question what I should wear. I was like, I'll just wear, a buttoned down shirt. I didn't wear my hat, but I think you could probably wear a hat if you wanted to. Um, and, I think really I don't know ranchers specifically. For this program, I think really you just need to be honest about what you're looking to do and make sure the mentor understands where you're coming from, because they're going to be there to help you out and teach you in this program. So you don't want to come off as anything you're not, because as I said, I came in with no experience and I got the position anyways just because I'm willing to put in the work and learn, and that's what this program is about at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
I think the mentors understand that also. So it worked out.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think Ryan is you are hitting the nail on the head. Like when I approached the interviews, I was like, this is awkward. I don't know this rancher, but it's the same for them. So you can have that, like, well, you probably they don't know who I am, so it's gonna be awkward for them too. But yeah, also I approach the application like I just like all those questions, and like I just need those questions to give me an opportunity to talk face to face with a rancher, because then is where I can show like my interest. And also, like, I don't know how long were the interviews, but like close to an hour, you know 45 minutes. But in that time they really want to know you, they really want to see like, okay, can I trust this person for the next 8 months? It's not about what you've done or what skills do you have, because you can learn all that. But like Ryan said, like, honesty and who you are is like, well, that's there or not. So yeah.
I would love to know too. We had a question from an apprentice recently that just wanted to know what it was like. So your apprenticeship this season, the last 7 or 8 months that you've been at your mentor site, would love to just hear from each of you. Like, what did a day look like?
Working in a ranch, like, it changes with the flow of the season. So when I started, everything was covered with snow. So we started at 7:30, and it was just doing like chores, feeding the cattle and checking the sheep and checking the water, and then, well, it's too cold, we cannot do much. But then, as the season progresses, and spring, we got a really wet spring here, so we receive a lot of rain, and it was fun to see like the process of winter melting and then the growing season, the middle of the summer. But yeah, I guess we start working more harder and harder when the grass is growing. And yeah, the day, like an average day, will be waking up at 7:30 and loading the car, with fencing supplies or salt, minerals, things that we have to give to the animals, and then go to the different locations, and first checking the animals, see everybody's doing okay, and checking the water, do they need salt or minerals, and then building fence. It was building fence. And actually this year, what we did a lot, here at the Coulter Ranch, we were doing daily moves. So my mentor Casey and I, we were kind of like split in two. I was taking care of two groups, and he was taking care of other two groups, and moving those every day, and then taking a break for lunch, an hour or so, and then doing some different projects around the ranch. But also, sometimes things happen and you need to stay working later than normal, and that's okay.
Nice. What about you, Ryan?
Samuel and I are about 60 miles away from each other as the crow flies, besides the
Yes.
giant Fort Peck reservoir in between us. So we had a very similar weather season, lots of rain in the spring. But basically, when I got here, there was a ton of snow, and that first month I was a little surprised at how much we weren't doing because there was so much snow. Well, then calving season started, and we do night checks every 2 hours at night. So from about April 9th to mid-May, I didn't sleep a whole lot. I was checking calves, and we were pulling calves, and the snow didn't come off until May. So it was cold, snowy. It was a hard spring at first, and then it melted, and there was a lot of water. And around here, we've got a very good community of ranchers. There was a lot of brandigs that I went to, and that was a blast to be able to meet and learn from the rest of the community and just help people out. And then we had our own brandig, which was super fun. And then with all that rain, we had a lot of haying to do this year. So I spent the month of July and the end of June and beginning of August in the swather and driving the rake. Uh, so there were a lot of bales to put up. And then, once we got done the haying, it started to calm down here in the fall. And we started, just moving our cows, getting ready for shipping here, which will be in a week and a half. So those were the big projects, lots of things in between, lots of fun activities. Went to an auction out at the Glasgow Stockyards, which was exciting to see our rebreeds and dries sell. So that was exciting. And yeah, it was just so much to do every single day. And, we got our first snow today, which really the first snow puts an end to all the fall projects. And it seemed like we got a lot done, but there's always so much more that you just can't do it all.
Yeah, we've been going hard lately too, preparing for the snow, and also trying to help Casey, my mentor, as much as I can before we leave. So it's been nice to see all those projects being done. But yeah, now the snow is here and things slow down for sure.
Brian, you were mentioning the in-person brandings. I know are a huge thing, especially in Montana. I feel like there's a culture of that shared community around brandings, and it is quite a thing here in Colorado, but I feel like it is a huge event at the ranches in Montana. So tell me a little bit about not only those, but maybe more of the Quivira events, like the Stockmanship Clinic, the in-person stuff. Like, did you go to visit any of the other apprentices during your time?
Yeah, well, the brandigs, I went to about 15 different brandigs, and that's really just you're going to help out your neighbor get their stuff done, and it's a celebration basically of, hey, look, the snow's melting and we're out here doing our work, and everybody's real excited about the weather warming up. So that was just great to really meet the rest of the community and learn from other people, because you learn so much from your mentors, but you're also surrounded by so many people who have been doing this their whole life that it's good to see different perspectives and to learn as much as you can. So I did that. And then regarding the program and the events we had there, orientation was really great. When you first get here, it can be really overwhelming. I was pretty overwhelmed. I got here at the beginning of March, and the orientation was at the end of the month. So after about 2 weeks to go down to Billings and meet everybody else who was crazy enough to sign up and do a program like this, uh, it was really awesome to meet everybody else, see, what led them here. I remember meeting Samuel, and he was doing his carnivore diet, grilling up burgers.
Yes, I was.
He always brought some really good food to our in-person gatherings. And then we also had the Whit Hibbard low stress stockmanship clinic in the middle of the season. And Whit is just an incredible teacher. It was great to see everybody again. To be able to experience being taught by Whit. I mean, the stuff that you can learn how to handle livestock in a low stress manner was amazing, to really get a educational understanding on that. Something that we do on the ranch we're doing on the ranch every day, but I didn't sit down and specifically understand every single thing we were doing. Well, after I learned from Whit, I could just take my learning another step further. Than every single time I've gone out to move cows since, I think about the different moves, my positioning and what I could do better, reading the animals. So that was super helpful. I was able to visit Oxbow Ranch in Missoula and see their direct marketing venture out there, which was really awesome for me. I'm really interested in that stuff. So that was very cool to go somewhere else. And I had another apprentice visit me. She wanted to check out how night calving worked, since they didn't do that on her ranch. So, being able to create those connections with other apprentices, and every ranch is different. If you're interested in something that maybe your ranch isn't doing, the opportunity is there if you want to go look at other stuff and see what other people are doing.
Yeah, I find it really interesting too that not being from Montana, I'm just gathering that it's really interesting how geographically people would be really far away from each other, but it's not a big deal to drive like 2 hours to see some 4 hours. It's crazy. It's just the difference between mindset of like, oh, what is a really long drive? It's like not, I think it has to be in the double digits for Montanans to feel like it's a long drive. Like, so
I had a long drive this summer, so I went down to Colorado, so that was
yeah,
16 hours.
that finally felt long for you because I feel like the 2, 3, 4 hours is nothing in
Oh,
Montana.
that's nothing. No, that's nothing.
Tomorrow we have to go help our neighbors move their cows for shipping, and we have to drive an hour just to get there. So it's really
It's just
nothing.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cultural change that I was not. Yeah, it's actually quite. It makes you feel a little bit relieved because when you look on a map and you're like, oh my gosh, I am going to be out in the boonies. Like, yes, you are. And we'll talk about that in a second. Like, there are struggles with the isolation. However, yeah, I mean, people have been there for a long time and they just cope with they figure out how to find community, even if it is isolated. So, and Samuel, too, I wanted to hear your perspective on the in-person gatherings. Did you go visit other ranches? Did you guys do community branding, stuff like that?
I was in branding this season, and yeah, it was like Ryan was saying, it's incredible. It was like a movie, like being in a movie. It's like real cowboys and roping calves and branding them. It was just amazing to experience that. But yeah, like I remember at the beginning of the program, we had the orientation, and it was great to meet the other interns for the first time, and then I think for me it was really good the stockmanship clinic that we had in the middle of the season. It was just like a nice break from at that time in the season you are really busy and hot days, so it was just nice to have a break and see the other interns again and really experience all the knowledge that the Manix had and the guest. Yeah, it was great to learn from them. And yeah, I didn't visit Ryan, so I'm sorry, Ryan, that I didn't got to visit you this year. But I had I really wanted to go down to Colorado and visit the James Ranch. They were part of the NAP program in the past, and I knew they were doing cheese making and having 100% grass fed operation. So I really wanted to see that, and it was great. But yeah, it was a long trip, and my wife and I and my son we went down there and we had a great time. But yeah, it was long.
So I'm curious about, I actually interviewed you recently for your exit interviews, and we talked about sort of what you learned this season. I'd love to know the top 3 skills that you learned this season. So it could be like physical skills, or it could be more interpersonal skills or self-development, anything that comes to mind. What are your top 3?
Well, I think first off, just dealing with animal husbandry. I didn't grow up thinking I would be in an agriculture career working with livestock, or I didn't even grow up, a lot of people want to be a vet or something. They just love animals. I always liked animals, but I never imagined that it would be part of my career and everyday life. So I've learned so much about cows, and we have sheep also, and just how to work with animals and to really be able to look at them and understand sometimes what they're thinking has been tremendous. And I think it teaches you a lot, just branching off that, working with animals, you've got to have patience. You have to be able to be okay when things go wrong, when they're not moving the way you want them to, when they're not going through the gate. So, patience is a huge thing that I've learned out here. And, I live 30 minutes from a paved road. You have to be patient for everything. Um, and I think lastly, I've learned a lot about human connection in general. Like, there's a lot less people here. but it's the best community I've ever been in. Everybody has everybody's back. It's just a super supportive community. I think part of that is there's less people to rely on. So you really rely on everybody. So those are some of the biggest lessons I've learned. You learn all the technical skills. You can find that anywhere. It's what you take away from the bigger life lessons that I think if you put your heart into this program and really go in every day trying to be better and learn, you're going to find a lot of really cool things that you didn't even expect when you filled out your application.
Yeah, for me, Taylor, I think this season I've really learned about electrical fencing and temp wire, and yeah, I remember starting the internship and not knowing much about that, and pretty much now Casey, my mentor, can tell me, okay, do this paddock, and he just trusts me to do it, and I just really enjoy to to make those paddocks and working with electrical fencing. And then, like Ryan was saying, like working with animals, that has been a great experience for me. Trying to read their mind and putting yourself in a position that, okay, if I move here, the animals is gonna move that way, and kind of like understand all this flow. It has been pretty good, and especially after the clinic that we went to, it has been amazing. And also, like, having a family and coming to a remote area, you have less things, you have less opportunities for everything, but that's not a bad thing. So kind of like learning during these 8 months to be content where you are, and really enjoying the process of learning. This program is great in providing an opportunity for people to really figure it out, if this is a possible career path for the future. And personally, it has been a yes for me. So no, in that sense, it has been great. So those are my top three.
I think too, it's important to convey to the future applicants. I think there's a lot of beautiful pictures of the West and ranching, and there are so many beautiful things that come out of this apprenticeship, but there's also a lot of struggle, and I think doesn't get conveyed on Instagram and doesn't get conveyed necessarily in our posts. But I try to talk about in this podcast sort of the underbelly of it all, and I think it's so important to talk about it because generally we're all sharing a similar experience, but just not talking about it. And so yeah, I would love to know from each of you, maybe what were some struggles that you faced this year, or maybe some unexpected aspects of this transition that were hard for you.
I mean, it was a struggle. It's not easy. I think Samuel, when he said, learning how to be content is super important. At the end of the day, it was all worth it. Because you can look at what you did that day, be proud of yourself, and you did something productive. But I didn't know anything coming in, and every day still, I know a lot now, but still there's plenty of stuff I don't know. And every day I felt like 90% of the time I was just trying to keep up and figure out what to do and not get in someone's way when we're moving cows, not, make a major mistake. And sometimes I did, but that's okay. That's part of the apprenticeship. And, just making sure you're not too hard on yourself, because there's no reason to be. At the end of the day, you're an apprentice and you're there to learn. And if you're giving your best effort in making that change, you're going to learn and be better. But it is hard, but it's worth it every single day.
Yeah, Ryan, what kept you going? Do you have sort of like a routine, or do you call home? Do you, I don't know, have any like hobbies that you sort of keep connected to who you are? Like, was there anything that you really connected to that helped you get through the hard times?
I write a lot. So, I basically, I have a journal and I wrote everything we did every day. Here's what we did. And then I would write, struggles and successes. So yeah, and I have a lot of people back home that I keep in touch with everybody, and they are always interested in what I'm doing. So yeah, it's great to have a large support network. And my mentor was always there for me and never put me in a situation where I would be in danger or pressure to do something that I didn't feel completely comfortable with. So the mentor themselves were great at that aspect.
Hmm.
In terms of other things, you're working a lot, so you just have to make sure this is if this is something you want to do, you're gonna find the joy in it because you spend your whole day doing it. It is fun, but it is hard.
What about you, Samuel? What are some things you struggle with and ways that you coped with it?
Yeah, like what Ryan was saying, at the end of the day, like ranching is a physical job. So, you have to expect long days, working hard, dust, heat, cold. So for me, like working outside when there's a blizzard, it can be pretty hard. So it's important to have good warm clothes and proper working clothes. So that's very important. Yeah, also working in the communication. I think, people in the ranching community are very knowledgeable, but sometimes it can feel like they don't the the way that knowledge is transferred, it cannot transfer well. So trying to have like real expectation about the interns and your mentor. So yeah, that can be a struggle. And also I had when I started the program, it's like, well, I have a family with me, so did I make the right decision? It's like, what am I getting my family into? But like, no, it has been great. And also like having my personal support system with me, that has been great. I'm having a hard day, so I can come home and enjoy playing with my son and talk about what was hard with my wife. And also my mentors, they've been really good about opening that space so I can talk about stuff with them, and in that sense very welcoming.
Samuel, do you want to hit on a little bit more? What's your relationship like with your mentor at the beginning, and how did it change through the season?
Yeah, like I like to say, like my mentors, they were looking for an intern, but they received like neighbors. It has been great to have both families at the ranch and seeing like how my son is interacting with their kids, and my wife enjoying friendship with Lacey, my mentor's wife. So yeah, I'll say like with my mentor, like I'm thankful because he's been teaching me like everything every day. So he's been a great resource. And yeah, I think I have a healthy working relationship and based in trust and open communication. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Ryan? How's your relationship with Leo, and how did it change over the season?
My mentors are Leo and Chris, two brothers in their 60s. Since the beginning, they've treated me like family. Them and their wives have taken care of me, made sure I'm good. They check in on me, every week. Hey, how are you doing? Are we doing everything good? I really feel I couldn't have got a luckier with Leo, Chris. They're just great. And I think, as the season progressed, we just got closer and closer. I can be pretty sarcastic sometimes. So, we really we joke on each other all the time. We have a good time. Um, I think there's a lot of opportunities. We did work on horseback, but we also use the side by sides a lot. And Leo really takes the time of the side by side, to teach me things, to tell me his stories, which he has an extensive amount of, which you can learn from every story, and to just see how I'm doing. So that side by side time with Leo was huge. And then going back to checking calves at night, me and Chris did that. So, when we were checking calves, I would show up at 9 p.m. After working all day, and then me and Chris would sit and watch a movie, and we did that for a month and a half. So that was really awesome. So as time progressed, just the more time I spent with them, the closer we got, and they're just awesome. So it was a really good matching for me.
I can imagine too that a lot of the mentors in our program, are excited that someone is excited about the thing that they that lights them up. It's like they always say, like, when you go to a party, like nobody wants to talk about cows, and so it's like this person came to your ranch and wants to talk to you about everything, like that's a fun thing to do. And so I think that's important too, to just keep asking questions and showing interest in whatever it is, whether it's regenerative agriculture or a story about their grandfather. I think that's really important, because what other chance do they have to like have a 30-year-old asking questions about cows, the thing that they love to talk about? So I can see that being really fun.
Yeah, I mean, they could go on all day. There's no
Yeah.
stopping once we get started. So it's great.
I'm sure their wife or husband, whoever is the other one, is thankful that you're the one that's
Yeah.
hearing these stories for the 5th or 6th time.
Exactly. Well, I was telling Leo the other day, he started telling me a story, and I was like, I'm pretty sure this is the 4th time I've heard this one. Let's hear it again. Because
and that's
well, the important thing is, if he tells me a story more than once, it must be an important one. So you got to take that and still learn from it.
You are just a good guy, Ryan.
Yeah. Oh, that's really sweet. So, you're at a unique point in your lives right now, I guess, both of you, that you're exiting the apprenticeship and, you're kind of digesting all the things that you learned and what just happened to you. I'm curious to know, what are you excited to learn more about? Like, has there been something during the season that sort of lit a flame in your head, and you're kind of curious to pursue it more? Samuel, it sounds like cheese making and sort of the food aspect, but do you want to expand on that?
I mean, during this season, I realized that I really want to focus on like production of food. And I mean, nothing wrong with raising cows and sheep and in a regenerative practice ranch. But yeah, I really want to pursue that. And like, I'm thankful because being part of this internship this year, it has opened the door for me to explore cheese making. That's why I went to Colorado this year and kind of talk with the ranchers there, the James family, and yeah, I think that'll be our next step. So my family and I, we will be there next year and exploring and learning everything about cheese and cheese making.
So are you going to be doing the actual milking process, or are you going to be helping out with grazing, or are you just on the cheese end?
I think, and I hope, a little bit of everything, but the main focus will be cheese making. Yeah, but there's always room for milking and taking care of the herd.
It sounds like your Spanish roots really shine. Like they were there all along. Like you can't take a person out of Spain, but you can't take Spain out of the person.
Oh my goodness! I mean, growing up, like all the wonderful cheeses, and it's like, oh yeah, I need to go back to that. So yeah.
You're missing
Yeah.
you just gotta find jamon. That's the only thing that you
Oh,
gotta.
I think I can make it. So yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. And what about you, Ryan? What's exciting for you to learn next, and sort of, and if you want to talk about too your next steps after apprenticeship?
Yeah. I mean, I want to learn more about everything, specifically the direct marketing. I'm really interested in that. I'm planning on go back to the East Coast. So, with the markets available there, and with, consumers being more interested in where their food comes from and how it's raised, I think there's a lot of opportunity there. And I want to look into that. And also just conservation in general. Those are some of the jobs I'm looking at in the future. And I think it would be really interesting and fun to, work in a conservation type setting where instead of just making a change on one operation, to be able to reach out to a larger group and make a larger change with many operations and more of a coordinator setting would be really inspiring for me. So there's a lot I want to learn. And I think part of it will be having the time to learn it. I learned so much out here doing it, face to face, but there's not a whole lot of time to read up on it or, take the time to understand some of the deeper stuff that when you're trying to just get a job done every day, sometimes things get thrown to the side. So, you know, doing more learning will definitely be in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, when you're starting the apprenticeship and you're kind of getting, your first year on a ranch, you don't even know what you don't know. So I think by the end of it, you're, so many doors of, it's like, more, but then all of a sudden, like 1,000 more doors are presented to you. So it's kind of interesting to see like, there's so much more to this than I even thought. And the fact that you worked on a ranch and now you're interested in conservation, I think that speaks a lot to the Barthelmess places, because I think a lot of ranchers, like, that wouldn't be the forefront of what you would take away. And the fact that you took that away and are excited about that is really cool, because he's found a really good way to weave those two things.
Yeah, for sure. I think they've done a lot of things here that is good for the environment, but also good for the operation. They're not going to do something that's not good for the operation. So I think being able to learn how to work with the land instead of against it has been really important to me. And yeah, all these opportunities I'm looking at, I didn't even know they existed prior to this apprenticeship. So it really did open a lot of doors.
So I want to end this podcast by asking you both, I'm sure that there's a lot of advice and you've both spent a lot of time sort of marinating on what you learned from this season, but I would love to just hear some pieces of advice you have for the next folks applying for the program.
If somebody's thinking about joining this program, my advice is yes, you should do it. Yeah, it's also like show interest. Like there's so many ways a person can show whatever they are, like, volunteer, read books, see videos, webinars, anything they can do to show like they want to try this and do it. So that has been my experience. And also, like, it's okay if you have to wait a year for the application process and just have a better chance. That was my experience. And like, during last year, that was, like I said, that was my full-time job, and I don't regret any of it. I met great people. I felt good about myself, and also like my wife could see like, well, Samuel, he's taking this seriously. So yeah, don't be scared of working hard and apply. And reach out to the Quivira team. They can help a lot. They help me, and yeah, this is a great program, and the amount of opportunities that it can open after going through this I think is incredible.
Thanks for the kind words, Samuel. That's sweet. Ryan, did you have some advice to share?
I think, like Samuel said, just do it. It was definitely worth it. Yeah, just be honest with whatever you're doing. And if you want to do this program puts you in the right spot to learn a lot and really figure out what you want to do. You don't have to come into this knowing exactly what you want to do after. I still don't know exactly what I want to do. But if it seems like something that you're willing to put the effort and work into, do it.
That's great advice. Well, thank you both so much for sharing your story. I'm sure I caught you both at a really busy time of the year. And so thanks for taking the time to come on to the podcast, and super excited to see you both at the Regenerate conference next week. And Samuel, you'll be moving down to Durango and coming to the conference right after that. So big week for you.
It is. We are here in the middle of packing. So yeah, we are really busy.
Yeah, and I just hope the best for both of you, and just thanks for coming on today.
Thank you, Taylor.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks so much to Samuel and Ryan for joining us on the podcast. If you'd like to keep up with both of them, you can follow Ryan on Instagram. His handle is his name, Ryan GKOCH4. And Samuel and his wife don't have social media, but somehow we managed to forget to mention Mandy's blog. That is Samuel's wife. She has an incredible blog where they've cataloged their entire experience in the apprenticeship and what it's like moving to rural Montana. I really, really love their blog. So if you're interested, head over to Montana Mandy, that's with an I, Mandi, 1.wordpress.com, and follow where they go next. I'm really excited to see that blog continue. And if you're enjoying our podcast, I would deeply appreciate if you were able to follow us on your podcast app and maybe even leave us a review and a rating. It really helps others find our podcast and potentially find their first step into regenerative agriculture. So it can have really real impact, which is exciting. And if you're not already subscribed to our newsletter, Quivira Coalition has a fantastic newsletter where we have a ton of job postings. We have opportunities for educational events and other trainings, and you can find information and sign up for that at quiviracoalition.org.
Thank you for listening to Regeneration Rising, a podcast production of the Quivira Coalition. Find us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and other popular podcast platforms. Become a Patreon supporter by visiting quiviracoalition.org/podcasts. We'd like to thank Quivira staff for their contributions to this podcast. This episode was edited and engineered by Caleb Wenzel Fisher. Wanderlust, our theme music, was made by Scott Buckley. And we're grateful for our guests taking the time to talk with us about their experiences. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the land.